This is Recruitment Agency Ignition with Andy Whitehead. Helping you build your recruitment employment business fast. Using digital and automation and one-to-many systems, tools, and inbound strategies.
When we're at this figure now, we're looking to break 250. There are a number of different constraints, and let's break it down just to layman's terms. These are the problems that you've got. Now, the first problem you got is you got a cash problem. Cash flow, cash, don't care what you call it, you got a cash problem. The second problem you got, you're probably always in crisis mode, all the time. You may have a lucky break, but guaranteed, you go home, celebrate with your wife or partner, but within 2 weeks, everything's shit again. You're in crisis mode all the time. What does that mean then in terms of actually being a business owner? You're on a panic stations. To multiply, and I don't want to be glib with this because it's the hardest thing in the world starting a business. And if anyone told me, well, going back 20 years when I started this God-forbidden journey, I probably wouldn't have started. But simplify and multiply is what we need to do at your level right now, where we are right now. So first off, cash. How do we get cash actually into the business? Well, the first thing we need to do is have specific campaigns. And by that I mean we know exactly who we're going to target this week, this month, the exact clients, the exact candidates who match each other. So we need campaigns that are very, very simple and very, very targeted. So we don't need to have 10,000 in our database or whatever. It needs to be targeted campaigns. I'll come to that in a second. The second thing we need to do, to get out of crisis mode, we need to get real about what we need to achieve. And what we need to achieve is very, very simple. So by that I mean, if you could double your business in the next year, that may be a good thing for you. Now, I don't know. Now, I expect that for an inner circle member as a minimum, but I'll break it down to some very base, simple criteria for you just to process. So you can see, if we take a step back and breathe, this is on. What we must not do is treat every day and every week the same, because that's ridiculous. But most business owners under 250 do that. We don't have a strategic plan that looks like this for the year. We have this plan. Every day it's just panic, stress. So in crisis mode, what do we need to do? We need to get some metrics in place that really break down to improvement by 33%. I'm going to break it down for you even simpler. All we need to do is improve 3 components by 10%. Now, when you consume 10%, everything is achievable at 10%. I'm going to show you what that means in a minute, because we get so lost in now. We need to be strategic with what we need to achieve. I'm going to take you through it. Now, the third thing, to get out of panic, what we need to do is get into control. Andy, what a load of glib crap that is, control. I'll take you what that means shortly. But when you're in panic mode, you make shitty decisions. You're not strategic. And I don't know how long you've been in business, but most businesses who come to me who are under 250, and let's say they're not in startup mode, they've been there for a long time. Oh, we were doing great 3 years ago, then this happened. We were doing great 5 years ago, then this happened. There's always a reason, but we're not being strategic. Remove the economy, remove the peripherals or the external factors. Why is it someone else can actually break through it in the exact same niche? So to do that, these are the challenges we've got, and this is what we need to overcome. Now, if we think about what we're actually looking to achieve here, and first of all, if I focus on, let's focus on this 33%, achieving by 33%. If in the next 120 days, so I'm a big advocate of, we have 3 parts of the year which are 320-day sprints. We have a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, then a 120-day. So each third breaks down to 4 quarters. Now, if you can imagine each quarter, all we want to do is improve by 33%. Well, that still sounds fucking huge. Still sounds huge. But let's break it down to what that really means, okay? Now, I'm going to use clients, but the same applies to candidates, only because of time. So if we think about what we're looking to do here, if we could say in the next 120 days, we need to improve or increase the number of clients or roles by 10%. That's one of our outcomes. Is that achievable? Even if you're doing the strategies that make me want to cry and picking up the phone or going breakfast networking or whatever, that's achievable. If we could increase the frequency that our clients buy from us, hire from us by 10%, again, switch it to candidates, is that achievable? Yes, more than achievable. If you go, we've only got 5 clients, think about what that really means. What does that mean as a percentage? If we increase the fee just by 10%, so Some of you may know about our client attainment system, where we can, like Ken McCarthy, for example, you may, if you've not listened to Ken's podcast, it's on iTunes. Ken joined us about 6 months ago, tripled his fees, went 100% retained, and has a process in place, 300K a month. There's a podcast on iTunes, go listen to it. So I'm not talking about tripling your fees, I'm talking 10%. So from 10,000 to 11,000. Is that achievable? Yes. Now, if you improve just these three factors by 10%, that will actually add 33% to your business. Now, if we break down our year into three core components, as I say, we've got our start, 120, 240, 365. Then each of those you then break down into being strategic. So the first 30 days, we're going to get a process up and running. We might have one automated campaign. The next 30 to 60 days, we're going to make sure it's automated. The next 30 days, up to 90, we start replicating it. We accelerate. 120 days, but make sure the damn thing's systemized. We're creating a business. Now, here's the thing. You only need a handful of campaigns, maybe even just one or two campaigns, and that is going to give you what you need in your next quarter. Even if you're doing what you're doing now and just improve those components by 10%, 33% is on in the first third of the year. Now, if you take that across each third of the year, linear, that's 99%. But in fact, it's compound growth, and it's more than that. So the reason why I'm giving you this is to remove some of the internal negative chatter that this isn't possible. Even if you were doing whatever you're doing manually now, it's possible. If you break it down to running a campaign, and let's say we run a campaign, even it might be a base, let's say even a LinkedIn campaign. If we increase the volume by 10%, if we increase the inbound by 10%, if we increase the conversion calls, i.e. the sales call, by 10%, even with a very simple LinkedIn campaign, there's your third. We don't need to complicate it. And the big thing is, when we're in this part of our business growth, invariably it will come down and say just to a handful of campaigns, and a typical game plan one for someone under 250 will be, we will check, it'll be website, it will be dependent on the country, the niche, LinkedIn, it will be a process to add 500 to 1,000 LinkedIn leads per month to your account. If you've got, say, 3 profiles, you've got 3 people in the business, obviously times it. It might be we map a market, build a data set, i.e. if there's 10,000 clients in your niche, let's get 2,000 of those in your database now. Let's put them through an automated campaign. If there's just 500 in your niche, it might be a different strategy. But the point I'm making to you is remove this this big elephant. It's not actually that big when you consume it. Now, remember what we said. We know that we've got to get some grip on metrics, and that's achievable. Next thing, we need to get a grip on control, a plan. So all day long, I would take a brand new recruiter, new to recruitment even, but somebody who's willing to follow a plan, than the guy who's been in recruitment 15 years and knows everything. And they're not going to follow the plan. They're not going to follow the plan. So if we go back to what we need, which is control, and again, if we've got a proven model, so this process works, it has been run by hundreds of people before in similar niches, the same country. We've got this template. Why would you not implement on those steps? I'll tell you why, because it comes down to the recruitment business owner mindset. And that is now, or I'm going to be strategic. But guess what? By the end of the day, 2 calls have come in and my big plan's out the window. So this control comes about by being strategic with our year and being strategic with our actual 120-day cycles. So if we take that cycle again and we look into more detail, what does it mean? If we've got, for example, let's say in this next 90 days, what's your plan right now? Well, I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to speak to 100 clients, as opposed to every single day, we're going to ensure that we have 100 invites on LinkedIn. We're going to use a template that converts to 37%. We're going to get a follow-up template that converts to 23% reply rate. We've got template 2 that converts to 21% reply rate. Then we get them onto a call, and currently we're converting 1 in 3 calls. All of those are conversion points that can be controlled and improved. That's just with a base LinkedIn campaign. Now let's say that we had a process with double R, which we'll come to shortly. But what we have is a process whereby you're in control all the way through. So if you said to yourself, for example, well, the outcome is this year I want to get to 500,000. What's the stats behind that? How many placements do you need? I need 50 placements. Right, so currently what's your conversion rate? Well, 1 in 4 conversations. So you need 200 conversations, right. So let's say 20 conversations a month. That's 5 conversations a week, 1 a day. So what are you going to do? I'm going to hit the phones, or I'm going to be send out these messages on spec, or the odd NPC, just to hopefully get that one a day. Is that strategic? No, not at all. Opposed to the other person who says, right, what I'm going to do is work out, I need to get those conversations, one a day. In this first 30 days, what I'm going to do is get myself set up. I'm going to identify what are my priority one clients. It's going to be this type of organization in this type of city or this state in this industry. I'm going to build a data set of 4,000. I'm going to get my templates in place for LinkedIn. You can start running these straight away, but what we're doing is we're being strategic. We're getting ourselves in place whereby we're getting set up. And we start running these within the first 7 days, but really important, we start running the process. And why is it someone else can run one template and get a 57% reply rate? Someone else runs the same template and gets a 21% reply rate. Why is that? We need to tweak it. So in this first part, this first 30 days, this is about being real and getting your business set up. The next 30 days is about once we've got something that's working, i.e. even a simple LinkedIn campaign. So say, for example, you're running a LinkedIn campaign, you send out 100 LinkedIn messages and you've got 15 calls out of it, or 5, whatever your number might be. Why would you not replicate that? So every single day, that is running in the background, and you've tested it 3, 4, 5 weeks, and it's linear. Every time you run it, you know you get 15 calls, or you get 15 opportunities to speak to 5 people. Why would that not run systematically in the background? I'm not even talking about automation at this point. So at this point, what we do want to do now is start to automate what is working. And what is not working, we increase the conversion on. And by that I mean, what does that mean? With LinkedIn, we're just simply looking at a message. If we're running a webinar, we get down to different steps. I'm not going to get technical now. If we're running double R, get down to other steps. But the process is simple if we break it down into simple steps. Then the next, we've got it automated. Now we start to replicate it. So this works on this LinkedIn profile. Would it make sense if my member of my team had a LinkedIn profile in a similar niche, or a LinkedIn profile for candidates, or we're running against a data set for a similar niche, or we've broken down our niche into 10 different subsets? Yes, we replicate it. So when you see these podcasts, and again, if you're not listening to Ken McCarthy's, for example, go and listen to it on iTunes, and these guys who've tripled their fees, tripled their business, it's because we're being systematic with this. We're not just being hit and hope. And what I've seen below 250 is we're not being strategic. And so at the end of the year, we're probably doing more or less the same things we do in the beginning of the year, as opposed to the gentleman or the lady who says, right, this is game time. This is either on or I'm not doing this anymore. We don't want to be that to that degree black and white. But Ken was an example. I did Ken's game plan, and Ken said I gave him advice to go from his existing niche, so legacy, into his new, which we identified, the transition phase. But he came off the game plan and said, screw that, I'm going to do exactly what you've told me to do and follow the game plan. And this is where we 3x business very quickly. Now, I'm not saying you do that, but what I'm saying is we're creating a business plan, a business process. So when we talk about control, we need to be thinking about what we're doing in the next year, next 120 days, next 90 days. So when we get to 120, we've got processes converting. So at this point, we need to get these systemized. Not sexy process. And if you're on the next webinar, you'll hear me talk a bit more about this. When I see businesses get to 1 million, then go back under 1 million, it's invariably around some of these components that are not sexy. However, it's the backbone of staying there and being sustainable. So when we talk about control, it's about being strategic with your planning for the year. In real terms, that means this week, this day, I'm sending this, or I'm using this inbound strategy. But you know the exact numbers that we're talking about, the exact numbers that we're dealing with. Now, the third component that we discussed, the third component, coming back to our actual campaigns, excuse my voice. Now, again, I'm conscious of time, but in simple terms, again, what is recruitment? What is recruitment? It's very, very simple. You have a client from an industry in a location, and they have a role. They have a need for a candidate in an industry in a location of a certain type of role. It's very simple. Now, why do we complicate that? Now, my background was engineering, investment banking originally. So when I came to recruitment about a decade ago now, and outside looking in, it was like, what the hell is going on here? This is crazy. Expecting to find a secret organization or underworld. It didn't exist. It's very, very simple. So when you start your business, and again, we're talking about under 250, and my plan for the next 30, 60, 90 days is what? We must get focused on reality. I'm going to focus on filling roles for this type of client. So in that case, even if you were picking up the phone, be very clear about, this is the target I'm going to be using for my clients. I'm going to ensure I've got the candidates ready to fill into that client. It's very simple recruitment. So campaigns, again, I'm not going to get into the detail of campaigns, but all we're doing is mapping up the client to the candidate. So whether your niche is 400 clients, whether your niche is 200,000 clients, or it's 1 million candidates, or it's 100 candidates. And again, go and listen to podcasts. You can hear hundreds of stories about what's possible. What I want you to get at a framework level is to break through 250, you do not need to have a data set of 20,000. To break through 250, you do not need a team of 5. To break through 250, you don't need to be killing yourself doing a dozen different activities. We need to get the leads in. And think about what we're doing here, break it down to conversion points. What happens is we've got a process whereby we have a lead, whether it be client or candidate, we convert, whether it be client candidate, and we deliver with the client or candidate. It's simple. So why do we actually make this complex? Now, I would take my house and bet against anyone now that if we focus on, say, just 2,000 in the next 90 days, 2,000 leads, and we've got a process where there's multiple points of contact versus traditional methods, I'm going to win. But when it becomes easy is this. So I've got 50 A's come in. I've got 50 A's. This company have demonstrated that they've got a need and they're a priority 1 or 2 given the strategy, the levels that we use. Great. How many calls you had? I've had 10 calls and closed none. Well, clearly, the challenge is a conversion conversation. That's your point of failure right now. Let's work on that. Or it could be, I've got nothing coming in. We need to work on that. Well, the next constraint is going to be, I've got the client, I haven't got the candidate. Again, it could be reversed, it's candidate driven, but isolating the point of failure or the point of success is simple. And thinking about what you need to achieve to break through 250 is simple. And it's taking a step back, getting clarity on niche, getting clarity on the client, clarity on the candidate, and making it a very simple understanding. Now, again, I'm not going to get into huge amounts of detail here, but if you can do one exercise, it would be, let me see if I can bring one up here. If you mapped out your client side or your candidate side, so you knew who your client was, you knew the sub-niches, you knew the roles, then you knew the candidates that mapped across to them. And then even if you use an automated process, whether it be automated process to build 20,000 candidates in a month or a week, or client side, doesn't matter. But it's ensuring that you focus on the next 30 days, the A's to the A's, the B's to the B's, the C's to the C's. Really, really important. Really important you get that focus. So if we come back to what we've just discussed at a high level here, and again, this is more about getting the shift happening. If we think about what we've got going on here, and we need to increase our client side, we need to increase our candidate side, we don't need to have hundreds of each. Okay, so we've got 22, Andrew, 10, 12, 14, Rick, 10, 30 for Lee. So within that then, we've got there's not any huge volume strategies needed there, but there's also not very direct authority strategies. By that I mean, for example, we've got a member called Matt who each placement gets 350k. Well, his highest placement fee is 350k. Pretty darn cool. On the flip side, we've got members who are in the factory world and get £500 a placement. But the numbers that you guys have shared there is like 1, 2, 3 placements a month. 1, 2, 3 placements a month. And let's say you've got a conversion ratio of, and you've got no repeat business, we're talking about 100 appointments. Now, again, each point in the process is a conversion point. So if we've got the conversion call, we deliver the candidate, each one of those is a conversion percentage. And even if you went away and just increase those by 10% per 120 days, there's a third extra. What we really want to do, though, is get through to 250, and then we've got systems in place to go to the next level. So one of the key challenges that I see for businesses under 250 is we don't have almost like an external NED on our business, someone coming in and assessing our metrics. So if you're going to take just some base metrics, you need to take these. Let me bring these to you. And I don't want to share anything confidential, but these are the metrics you need to write down. Write these down. Number 1, the number of client leads per month. Number 2, number of candidates targeted per month. Number 3, the placements per month. Revenue per month. Important, margin per month. Let me give you an example. We've had going to chat about a really cool gentleman, Jamie, on the next webinar, who joined us doing about 10, 11 million, but actually making no money. But within the first year, he'd gone from 7 branches down to 2, and his team down from 35 down to 7, actually making a ton more margin. So margin is huge. Now next, these two. I'm a recruiter. I don't want this. I just want to make more money. Genius. What does that mean? Now, some of you are on the call now, and you are awesome at managing. Some of you are on the call now, and you hate sales calls. Some of you on the call now, you've got every different degree of genius right now. So for the businesses who break through $1 million and stay there, these are 2 fundamentals that I focus on with my members. The genius days. And what I mean by that is what they need to be doing more of and what they should be doing less of. So believe it or not, it still blows my mind. I know a load of recruitment business owners who hate speaking to clients. They hate sales. So what can we do about that? Well, again, if you go to iTunes, you might pick up some of the podcasts where we talk about that. There's a solution. And days off, why is that important? Why is that important? Because a direct barometer of your actual business process. If you're in your business 30 days a month still, and you're making $1 million, I guarantee you, you're going to go back under $1 million the following year. Your business should run without you. So these KPIs are key. Now we've got something called the Warrior system, whereby we go through a belt process that we've implemented. So those doing 0 to 10K a month, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, you can see as a hunter group, all the way up to the warrior group. And guess what? Each one of those different phases has a different set of projects and plans and a different set of KPIs. But notice this, role. Your role in the business is going to be the pivot point this year, whether you break through $1 million, break through 250, whatever your number is going to be, your role. You are the point of success. You're also the point of failure, the same as me as well. Same as all of us. But your role needs to change. Your role is key, absolutely key. And we must get this understanding that if you want to get through, say you've been doing 100K for the last couple of years, or 200K and it's plateauing, 3 things need to change. I'm going to touch on these on the next webinar if you do you want to pop on that. Number 1, the actual business itself, the assets in the business are key. And by assets, I mean this. So we've got something called a 7-day sprint. So a 7-day sprint is one of our members is going to get 25 bookings in their diary this week, or they're going to get 50 candidates booking their diary this week. How can they do that on spec, being very completely targeted? Because they've got assets. So in that case, the asset is they've got data. The asset is we've got a proven funnel. The asset is we've got a proven template. The asset is we might have authority. So assets are key. Even at the level, even at startup, an asset comes down at a normal game plan for someone under 250 will include website. So for example, we had a member last year who had 50 something A's, i.e. companies saying we want to speak, 100 and something B's, i.e. companies saying send us more information, and a few C's. But he actually wasn't getting the business. Now, when I looked at his different artifacts, i.e. his website, his LinkedIn, his funnel, his templates, what he'd actually done is copied, and that's cool, and that's why we've got what we've got, but copied other templates and member stuff, but didn't get focused on his niche, on his client, on his candidate. So he didn't actually get the real understanding about creating an asset. Do it once, it's going to be there evergreen. So assets are number 1. Number 2, the second key driver is these KPIs. Your KPIs, so this is at a high level we're speaking about here, but at a campaign level. So every single day you run a campaign. You should be able to say to yourself, or whoever's in your business, today I'll keep it simple for LinkedIn, just so you know, LinkedIn is just a minor part of what we focus on, but I just want to give you something we all understand and can consume. Even LinkedIn, today, what's happened on LinkedIn? We sent X amount of invites, X amount accepted, X amount of replies, X amount of replies number 2, replies number 3, X amount of calls, X amount of conversions, X amount come back to us. Those metrics should be in place. If you haven't got that, then it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult breaking through that 7-figure. And the third component, cash flow. Now that sounds easy, but that cash flow comes down to understanding if we put 100 units in, even say, for example, RRR, we send 100 or we send 500, and then each time we send 500, we get 100 replies. And we do the same test again, get 100 replies. Same again, 100 replies. In fact, podcast number 1 on iTunes is about just this. It becomes linear, it becomes predictable. So that means, going back to what we said at the top, that then removes the crisis mode from our business. it removes the panic because we've got something which is repeatable and predictable. If you want to take away one key outcome from the next year in breaking through 250, it's being strategic. And it's a bastardized word now, excuse my French on that, but it is. But being strategic around what we do in the next 120 days, then 30, 60, 90 within it, then the next and the next. And also knowing that the metrics behind doubling your business are more than achievable. All of you, even doing what you're doing now, can add 10%. All of you can. But if you look back on your last year, in most days or most weeks, you're doing the same thing every day, every week, then you haven't really got a plan. You've got a job.
Discover how to build your recruitment employment agency using one-to-many automation and inbound strategies before anyone else in your market specialization. Check out recruitmentmarketinginternational.com.